We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Gold, higher. Dollar, lower. Bitcoin, higher. XRP, ETF, higher. Stocks, oversold. Crypto participants, bearish. Crypto participants, short. Crypto participants, fearful. Hey, Grok, what does that mean? Well, if you stick around, I'll tell you, because if you need a roadmap in crypto, I'm about to give it to you. Plus, I'm about to give you the price targets for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, or I think maybe it's Bitcoin, XRP, and Solana, along with 3 AI coins and 3 DeFi coins. Because this whole idea that crypto is dead and we don't need Web3 is completely wrong. It's completely wrong if for no other reason it's become a consensus idea, right? It's absurd. We all gave up on crypto because the government didn't moon our bags. If anything, we should be getting long crypto because the government didn't moon our bags. We don't need them to. We don't. And we don't want them to. So other than that, I'm not really that bullish. So let's welcome who's here. We'll go through some PowerPoint. PowerPoint is coming back today. We have Carmenko is here. Taz Pinball. What's going on? Okay. LA 13 is here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. SG, the original. Arendam, Shelly, Rock Feeder, Flo, Adam, Thomas, Warmon, Malik, Uncle Sugar, Miguel, Michael Harrington. How's it going? Oh no, Javier is here. Alexandra from Europe. Malik, I was about to say, what happened to Alexandra? You know, she calling in sick to the market update? Absolutely not. Taz Pinball. Higher Love by Steve Winwood. I'm down. Top 3 Bitcoin mining stocks to buy on this dip. You know what, dude? You may not have to worry about that. It might be just OWNB. It's an ETF, OWNB. I don't know if it's out yet. Dude, they got a Riot has to be at the top of the list because Riot was doing like AI and Bitcoin mining, and they destroyed the stock. They destroyed it. There's no way. There's no way these stocks are not coming back. We're going to talk about MicroStrategy. We're going to talk about, like basic altcoin ideas for big caps, where some of this stuff can go, how moronic. Yeah, that's the word for this market. That should have been the title, right? The market is moronic. Crazy. The bearishness is so absurd. Okay. So this comes from a pretty smart guy I know. You probably don't understand it. So the U.S. Treasury spokesperson confirms the expirations of licenses allowing energy transactions with Russian financial institutions, okay, including Russia's central bank. Okay. So according to the guy that I'm talking to, whatever it is that this means, it means you can start buying oil with gold, not necessarily the dollar. Okay. And that this is like a very underreported thing. So the dollar's going lower. So I'm having a conversation on Twitter with the biggest long-term dollar bear ever. And this guy was like, hey, Bill, you got some silver coins you want to sell? Hey, I'm long gold and silver forever. And we're talking about the dollar. And he's like, yeah, the dollar's going lower, but it's temporarily oversold. I'm like, dude. Everybody's a trader. Everybody's like, oh, well, the 9-day RSI on the 60-minute chart. Shut up. I understand traders make money, but don't tell me the dollar is oversold because the dollar is going to go down because the only way we are going to finance $9 trillion in debt is to get the currency lower now. Other people's currencies have to be stronger so that when they convert them into dollars, they can just buy more. This goes for American goods and American debt. They have to get the dollar lower right now. It just occurred to me. I was like, wait a minute. What's going on with this whole tariff thing? What is that really about? They got to get the dollar lower. And they got to get the Fed printing like now. They got the stocks down was the excuse to get the Fed to put high-powered money in the system. It kind of all came together. We have to refinance $9 trillion in debt so you can have stock market turmoil now so you don't have bond market turmoil later. Get the currency down. Get gold up. Get Bitcoin up. Get the currency down. Otherwise, no one's going to buy $9 trillion in debt. Literally, that's how much debt they got to sell this year. Trump could be a catalyst for a global pro-crypto shift, says Binance CEO. Thank God we have these Binance characters and these characters at the top of all these exchanges who do nothing but liquidate everybody all the time, tell us that there is a major fundamental shift going on in crypto. Michael Saylor has gotten a PowerPoint deck. We covered it yesterday. He's been told to go out into the world and say, if you're a corporation or you're a state, a nation state or a state or a U.S. state, you better buy crypto before the U.S. government does. Because the U.S. government comes in, it's going to come in heavy-handed. It's going to be like BlackRock. I mean, BlackRock took Bitcoin from 48 or from 35 to 100. That's what BlackRock did with $50 billion worth of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor is about to buy $20 billion worth of Bitcoin. And that doesn't say anything about the U.S. government because he has the U.S. government as a floor underneath him. Like they could never let him get liquidated if they want the dollar lower. Like this whole thing, everything's going to crash. Michael Saylor is going to get liquidated. Strategy is going to blow up. It's the opposite. Every single crypto person is bearish and every single stock market nerd is short MicroStrategy. And I think they're going to get blown out of those short positions. And even if they don't, and that's what could take crypto miners up. This is a new theory. Like, yeah, crypto miners should go up long-term, but crypto miners could go up a lot short-term if they blow out the MicroStrategy shorts. We'll see. Okay, so gold breaks through $3,000 as Doomberg says everything is Trump's fault. Right? Gold's blowing through $3,000. We just covered that. Dollar has to go lower, and they're going to basically something's happened in the oil market where you can now buy oil with gold if you want. That's fine. I mean, again, Bitcoin always follows gold. So if they all start going up at the same time, and I think if they get silver going, you could have a full-fledged cryptocurrency rally, which includes ETH. Okay, so just a reminder, the original guy, okay, recent public financial disclosure, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. owns between $1 and $5 million worth of Bitcoin in a Fidelity account. Okay. It's amazing. The guy has like $1 million worth of credit card debt. I guess that's how he was able to run it up. And I don't think he's going to sell any of the Bitcoin. He's just going to pay the interest rate on the credit card debt. But remember, this was the guy who was originally into it. And he was talking about back in treasuries and back in the dollar using some measure of Bitcoin. We got to sell $9 trillion worth of bonds. The first problem that we have with that, we're going to be into the crypto market and we're going to be doing exactly what this guy said way back when. You got to go back. I listened to the talk at Consensus, right? I listened to the talk. Right. The orange man rugged his whole thesis and ran with it at Bitcoin Nashville, which was like a month later. This was last year. We got to borrow $9 trillion. We're going to need to make those bonds extra attractive. That's why this is being floated. Okay, so John McAfee is back with a great speech on not getting bearish, on not letting them shake you out. Okay. It's called waltzing with anarchy. Okay. Don't let them blow you out of this crypto market. I mean, did you see the way this thing traded yesterday? They were destroying these things. They destroyed everything. I mean, it looked like it was going to zero. This is the best rally cry I have heard, right? for pro crypto. To not let them shake you out. Not let them shake you out. I'm putting the link in the chat. Because I was honestly, I was about to lose it. I just thought that what was going on here was absolutely crazy. Okay, so the S&P is closed in correction territory. Good. Over the last 16 trading days, the S&P has erased an average of $340 billion per day. Okay, that's more than the market cap of Ethereum. Okay, right. So S&P erases $5 trillion in 16 days. Trump says he's not watching the stock market. Everyone out. Everyone in, everyone out. Most likely everyone back in again. Or at least stocks just go into a range. The best thing that can happen with stocks is that it's just, this is the range. Like they've made the range for the year. This is something that no one is talking about. They've made the range for the year. Okay? This is the range. Stock's just going to sit there. And this has happened before. This has totally happened before. Like if you go through the S&P 500 history, right? Right. And you say you look at a monthly chart. Yeah, okay. S&P generally is up only, right? But not always. Okay? So this, a lot of people don't notice. This was the end of my career at Goldman. Because the worst thing that can happen to a technical analyst like me, traders can adopt to almost anything, really, except major trends, because they can't figure out the risk reward. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months where the stock market did nothing. Nothing. You could actually add 13, 14, 15, 16 months where the stock market did nothing. Nothing. It sat, S&P was in a range between 1850 and 2100. Nothing. And that was because, well, I don't know, they did QE and the market was priced for perfection and people were just assuming that, the female candidate was going to win the election and that Janet would continue to print, and there was no catalyst. Like growth was meh, everything was meh. So we just sat there, right? Because it was up only. It was up only for, 2.5 years on Bernanke doing perma QE. Literally said it. We're never going to stop printing. We're going to do 85 billion a month forever because it's working out so well. Huh, okay. But then it had to go into a range. And what was the range? I don't even remember. But there was nothing to do. There's nothing to talk about. There's no content to write. So Goldman did the second biggest restructuring. They did a huge layoff in 2008. And I survived all of that until 2016 because the market did nothing. Nothing. And that's going to happen again. You got 16 months of nothing in stocks because it's happened before. It has. No. If you have 16 months of nothing in stocks, what market's going to go up? Well, it's got to be crypto, right? It's got to be. So, this is S&P today. So there was the warning sign about the slowing growth momentum. There was the DeMark signal that not the DeMark signal, the Luxalgo signal you can't see. Luxalgo sold the top at the premium zone. So it's a handy tool. Okay. I don't know why everybody would get negative at these levels in stocks. Doesn't make any sense to me. So everyone's negative stocks. Everyone's negative crypto. The administration wants the dollar down. They want rates down. We're going to go over those charts. And if this thing turns around and starts going up with everybody bearish, it is going to be insane. It's going to be insane. U.S. government is moving funds around. They have just moved, I don't know, what is it, $5,000 worth of Avalanche to a new wallet. God, can you imagine if they got security tokens going on Avalanche? I don't know how they're going to do $9 trillion in debt without securitized treasuries. I'm serious. I really don't. How does that work? You're going to stuff $9 trillion down the throat of this bond market? No way, man. Now, I don't know what that means. I didn't have enough time to really grok it this morning, but, I mean, Avalanche could do security tokens. Ohm was, people depositing treasuries, borrowing stable coins, and then going into the market. I don't know, but there has to be an answer because they're not issuing $9 trillion. The market is not going to absorb $9 trillion. They probably need to get stablecoin issuance huge. You need institutional style stablecoins because, again, who's going to absorb the debt? They chased Tether out of the country. Now they need 20 tethers. Okay, so doxing Doge employees. I call the government Uncle Sugar. There's all this stuff, right? Like, conservative news anchors having their, staff pass away. The orange man has to run a cheesy Tesla commercial, right? Probably to keep people from being afraid to go to Tesla dealerships. They don't really have dealerships, but you know what I'm saying. It's insane, right? I mean, it's like, dude, they got to issue. See, this is not what they talk about. Like, oh, well, we got to cut spending and the chainsaw. It's like a show, right? They got to make a show. They got to figure out how are we going to get enough money in here so maybe we only have to issue $5 trillion in bonds. That's what the tariffs are all about. This is when it like all dawned on me. Like, the orange man's like, blink at me wrong and give me an excuse to have higher revenues coming in here, right? Because they left. Bowden left such a bag. They're holding this huge bag. But of course, yeah, let's dox the, I don't know, whoever, the computer people or whoever's working for this Elon character, right? He's a little, I don't know. He is what he is. But I don't think that they should be like resisting him at the local judicial level just because. I don't. Okay, so let's talk about XRP. So the XRP lawsuit, all this stuff's going to get dropped, right? The SEC, the SEC's job is to dismantle the SEC, at least as it comes to crypto. It's going to go back to being what it normally was a niche regulatory enforcement agencies for men behaving badly at Wall Street. It's not the crypto cops. They're not. So they're getting out. Now, once they get out, what is interesting about this tweet is that they want to start talking about XRP as a commodity. They want to start moving it in there with ETH. I don't know if they're going to consider it a commodity or a utility token. But whatever they classify it as, they're probably doing so they can get it into an ETF. And I don't think this is priced into XRP. XRP was at $2 and something, $3 back in 2018. We have not processed the XRP ETF yet. And we have not processed who would want that. Because you could have people rolling out of Ethereum, although I think giving up on Ethereum at 1,800 is stupid. But, the XRP ETF is not priced in. XRP $5 was a good hyperbole YouTube title, which of course, at $3, it was going to $6. At $2, it was going to $0, and you should sell it. So ridiculous. So ridiculous. You clearly have a massive Bitcoin narrative. And I also think there's a clear XRP narrative. The AI trade has been destroyed, and people are acting like real-world assets and DeFi are unnecessary. You got to be kidding me, right? You absolutely got to be kidding me. Like, people are just assuming you don't need any of this stuff. The Bitcoin, like there was a GAN guy. I can't do this because I can't just erase the chart or haven't figured it out. Let me come off the screen share. So here's what this guy did. He said, with the election, the market went all the way up and all the way down, right? Now, if you took that out, right? Like if you just said take the chart and erase all the way up and all the way down, what would you think of the market? And I said, well, you would probably think the market is in a basing process because the market did nothing from March to September of last year. Nothing. Just sat there. And here we are, back at the same levels. The only difference is everyone's bearish. Everyone. So you're in the same place you were before the election. The only difference is back then everyone was bored. Now everyone's bearish. So if you take out all the way up and all the way down, if you take out the pump and then the dump on this whole idea that the government has to moon our bags, which is absurd, where are you? Well, I don't know. I would say the answer is ready to go massively higher. Massively higher. Like on a continual trending basis. Like, okay, we start slow. We'll go into the grok. We'll start and then, we'll go gradually and then suddenly. Like, what about Chainlink? Like, has Lazarus not proved the idea of cross-chain? They've proved it. They have proved it. Cross-chain is real. So why is no one looking at Chainlink? We got to issue all this money. We got to do all these treasuries. Why is no one looking at Aave or Ohm? Why is no one looking at Phantom? Now Sonic, right? That's got a lot of room to go up on the upside, right? And they got, you don't know what the hot DeFi plays. I mean, not to mention AI. I mean, the private sector is acting like the AI singularity has already occurred. Like they're basically saying, okay, we're going to eliminate this job because we'll eventually be able to do it with a chatbot. So let's get rid of the people now. Let's let the people suffer, and then we'll get in the chatbot, and it'll make their job easier. But right now, let's assume we'll be able to automate these positions. Let's eliminate people, pile work on somebody else, and then we'll get them chatbots in 6 months or 9 months or whatever. That's happening. Trust me, I know. Okay? That is absolutely happening. Now, if that's the case, all of AI and crypto is undervalued. I mean, what happened to AI and DeFi? All this stuff that helped you with trading. I mean, is anyone even talking about it? Most of the crypto Twitter feeds are talking about like BitBoy's book and politics. And no one is talking about just like, oh my God, please back up the truck. Just back up the truck. Right? I mean, what are you going to do? Take it down to 60? Where's it going? Really? It's going to 60 with Uncle Sugar and Michael Saylor out that with a PowerPoint presentation. You got to be kidding me. We haven't even heard from the Sovereign Wealth Fund yet. If there's a shutdown, it's because of somebody else. And it could really be taking a lot away from our country. So I don't know if they're shutting it down. I don't. But you know what? If they do shut it down, what's going to happen is the same thing that happened with the last cycle. You're going to realize that the world hasn't come to an end. And then you're going to realize we don't need the government to moon our bags. I mean, it's good that they're behind it. There will be Bitcoin backing treasuries. But we don't need Uncle Sugar. We don't. And it doesn't matter whether you like the people who are running it or you don't like the people who are running it. A year ago, it was easier to not like the people who are running it. Now, it's kind of the same thing, right? It's like lobbying groups have bought whoever they bought. That's fine. We don't need these people to go up. It's great that they're pro-crypto. It's great that they've got the boot off our neck, right? It's great that they want to buy Bitcoin. But moving the market on every tariff, every statement, you don't need it, right? You don't need it. And of course, there's this whole idea of, like I said, I keep going back to this. McAfee, freedom, privacy, sovereignty. They're going to issue $9 trillion in debt backed by what you do for a living. You want to know who's backing that? You are. You are. How do you feel about that? Right? Does that make you want to hit the green button? I hope so. I hope so. So they shut the government down on this guy. I don't know. He shut the government down on people before. They shut the government down. They're going to figure out who they need and who they don't. This could be a Doge trick. And they need a Doge trick for like the next round. So God forbid they shut the government down for 2 weeks and we start figuring out who we need and who we don't. Woohoo. Watch out. These are the U.S. cities with the highest value homes. Miami, New York City, Las Vegas, Washington, D.C. Interesting. Forgot to share the screen. What is going to happen with this? Average house price in Washington, $589,000. I mean, that whole area of the country, it's like it's just going to get lopped off, especially if they shut the government down. Like normally you wouldn't bring this up, but if I was like, oh my God, you mean if they shut the government down and Elon and Doge can sit around and figure out who we miss and who we don't? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, so the Orange Man is all about monetizing MAGA. That's a new term, right? So they're going to take advantage of whatever goodwill and whatever popularity they have, and they're just going to monetize, and they're going to do everything in crypto that they can because they got to raise $9 trillion. Like somebody, the men in black, came into Trump's office, say, hey, Mr. President, how you doing? Hey, let me give you the numbers. You know, they got to refinance $9 trillion. And the only way they're going to do that is if they print. And the sooner they print, at least the more credible it'll look. Like they have to get the money into the system now to be able to absorb what they're going to issue later. They can't just, oh, hey, it's a bond auction. Hey, we're going to print to absorb the bond auction. They can't do that. They have to get the Fed putting money in the system right now. And that's why the Orange Man is just like, yeah, let's just buy everything. Let's buy everything at World Liberty. Let's buy Binance US. Let's just buy everything. He's buying everything. Real estate guys, when do they buy everything? When it's at zero, when everyone hates it, when everyone's bankrupt, when everyone's getting liquidated. That's when these guys do that. It happened to him. He's gone bankrupt. He had to go to he had to go to foreign banks to get money. It's happened. He's seen it. We're acting like it's not happening. Okay. XRP is kind of funny. They have kind of like their own news. Okay. XRP price outlook hinges on SEC appeal strategy, ETF approvals, and macroeconomic risks. What's next? Okay. Well, the macroeconomic risks all affect treasuries. Okay. The SEC is not going to appeal the case. Of course they're not. It's ridiculous, right? They're going to drop all of that stuff. Garlinghouse is the only, it's like, other than Coinbase, I think. Maybe if you included strategy, because I don't understand why strategy doesn't have 3,000 people working on building stuff on Bitcoin. That's just me. These guys got to hire people. They got to hire people. All right. So, this idea about Ripple and Garlinghouse, Garlinghouse just takes so much grief. Bitcoin maximalists were whining at the summit. Dude, he has a company, right? They could triple this. Orange Man wants that company to 10x. He doesn't want Ripple to XRP to 10x. He wants the employees at Ripple to 10x. And the only way to do that is to make XRP some kind of universal payment solution. And I talked about this before the election. It's like, look, what does the government want to do? They want to get people hired. They want to get economic activity, and it has to be Web3. It has to be. I read something yesterday. I talked about something on LinkedIn on the stream, and then I processed it. I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, if the Orange Man wants Web3 to go up, either the crypto dimwits figure it out ourselves, or we have to have Web2 and Julius Caesar, right? And, all the guys with the God complexes to come in and invest and do it for us. If we can't figure out how to do it ourselves. Of course, the ourselves is not me and you. I mean, we just, we're investors, but we figure out Web3, or the Orange Man will send somebody in here who will figure it out for us. Web2 will just morph itself into Web3. And hopefully that gets it going. I'd be fine with that, because no one thinks there's anything to do in crypto other than Bitcoin and memes. And I continue to believe that is absolutely wrong, because all these people have been told, don't talk to me, don't come back to me until you've hired a bunch of people. Now, of course, you can't talk about that when the market's hysterical. And I talked about it when Bitcoin was at 100K. And now it's more true than ever. Like if you have a market debacle and everyone thinks it's a recession, which is ridiculous. You've been in a recession. Been to the grocery store? How's it going? You know what I mean? Like XRP matters now. And when the whole market was down yesterday and XRP wasn't, I'm like, well, okay, there's one way to look at this, which is that, nothing outperforms forever. And this is just XRP's day to shine and it'll go down tomorrow. Or XRP's telling you that the market just bottomed and that whatever's selling, whatever BS was going on at 80K, and everyone's selling. I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Maybe the XRP ETF is the new Bitcoin ETF. Did you ever thought of that? Like this market went massively higher off the Bitcoin ETF. If it becomes the XRP ETF, this market can go up a lot. And even if it doesn't, something's going to take Ethereum's place as like the thing that moves with Bitcoin or the thing that takes advantage of a lower dollar and higher gold. So it could be Bitcoin, could be ETH, that's fine. Or it could be XRP. And I don't think anyone thinks that. I think everyone's just like forgotten about it. Everybody in XRP is stupid, blah, 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 blah. Ripple's got 1,000 people and the orange man wants them to have 10,000 people. Okay, PowerPoint. Okay, PowerPoint. The share button. All right, let's go. PowerPoint's back. How nice, right? All right. Okay, so let's talk about the dollar. The only way out of a debt crisis is to devalue the currency. Tired of hearing about it? Well, you may be tired of hearing about it, but it's amazing people are already getting tired of trading it. It's like, oh, the dollar went down. Okay, that's it. It's amazing. People expect the stock market to go down forever. Like stock market's going to zero, right? It's just funny. But the dollar's oversold. It's got to bounce. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because the dollar is the biggest bubble out there. The dollar is absurd. It's been absurd for like 3 years. Stan Druckenmiller tried to get short. It didn't work. It didn't work. It's the biggest bubble out there. Even Dalio's like, oh my God, it's the apocalypse with the debt. Dude, the currency has got to go down. And you have a perfect head and shoulders top. You have a dead cat bounce, no bid. It's got to go lower. They want it lower. I don't know how many other ingredients you need in order to get it down to the discount zone at 100. Now, you want to have some extra fun? You want to have more dollar fun? Let's have more fun with the dollar. I got some economists, like some guy I totally respect. He had to get my first job in the business. Go, well, we have a debt problem. Put your suggestion in a comment down below. I was like, dude, Plaza Accord, 1985, right? Dollar, right here, right? It became in the world's interest to have the dollar lower, right? I mean, the Japanese were shipping Toyotas over here that were so cheap. People were like, oh my God, the whole American auto business, the whole American auto industry is going to be out of business, right? Because Japanese cars were too cheap. So how did they fix that? Well, they had the dollar go down and the yen go up. So the Japanese cars got, the prices of the Japanese cars balanced themselves. That's not why they did the Plaza Accord, but, rates were too high and the dollar was too strong. So G7 countries got together, told the foreign exchange market to just take it down. Just take it down. I mean, it wasn't even like some big statement. They came out of a meeting and they said the dollar is way too high and we want it lower now. And everybody thought it was like a 3-week trade, just like this one. And Soros, this is how he made his money. He just kept selling. It's like everyone's like, okay, time to cover shorts and go home. The 9-day RSI, I made my trade. Here it is. I'll post it on Twitter. There was no Twitter in 1985, obviously. But I'll go to the bar and I'll tell my friends about this great trade that I did, and it's over. And Soros was just like, just keep selling. I remember the guy at his trading desk is like, dude, are we ever going to get to go home? Because you had to do it on the phone. You had to do it on the phone. A person had to talk to a person who had to sell it to a person through a microphone speaker system. And the trader's like, dude, are we ever going to get out of here? Are we ever going to get out of here? He just kept selling. And of course, it collapsed for like 2 years. Just completely collapsed. Now, with that story in mind, this is the quarterly chart of dollar. So I used to make a living at Goldman with quarterly charts. I had this really great software system, but this is perfect because you know what? The 200 quarter moving average, the long-term average for the dollar index is at 98. The dollar is still above its long-term average, and we have to issue $9 trillion in debt. It's a bubble. It's absurd. The dollar should be 20% below its long-term average. And everyone's like, well, it's oversold. Yeah, let me post my P&L on my leverage trade. Okay, that's it. Next. No. Yeah, okay, hopefully dollar yen doesn't wreck capital markets. Okay. The dollar is going lower. It has to go lower. And everyone's bearish Bitcoin. This is how much the dollar has to go down. Like the problem now is way worse than that problem. Way worse. Way worse. The only way out of a debt crisis is to devalue the currency. And you know what? I'll do you one better. I think they've already agreed to this at Mar-a-Lago. There was this rumor that they had something called the Mar-a-Lago Accord, like the Plaza Accord. No one's talking about it. Everyone's talking about tariffs. Everyone's, like crypto Twitter has become like crypto political Twitter. And everything that their economic genius is on, they don't even understand, like M2, which we'll go into, right? Okay, so this is what the administration has to get done. They need rates down and bonds up, period. Now, how do they get that done? Because $9 trillion in bonds are coming. This is the futures contract on the long 30-year bond. So 30-year bond is very indicative of what we think of the U.S. government. Their solvency, things like that. It's also attached to mortgage rates. Your 30-year mortgage rates come from the interest rate from the 30-year bond. The interest rate in the 30-year bond is determined by the 30-year bond market. So, bonds up, rates down. So this is a head and shoulders bottom. And I know it's here, and so does Elon and everybody else. So they're like, how do we get people buying bonds? Okay, well, shut the government down and then figure out what we don't need and just fucking, just cut it all. Just cut it all. Just cut everything. Like Twitter, right? And I didn't realize, it's like, oh my God, they're doing this like government shutdown thing. They're just like walking into a huge trap. Huge. Now, if they pull this off, I have no idea how they're going to do it, but if they pull this off and bonds start rallying, so if interest rates fall, bonds rally, housing gets more affordable in theory, but if bonds rally and the dollar falls, that creates the bid for the $9 trillion in debt because no one wants to buy bonds in a falling bond market. And they have to buy those bonds in a currency that's expensive relative to their own. They want a cheap currency and they want a rising bond market. And hopefully they don't have to crash stocks to create demand for bonds. Maybe in the beginning, but bonds have to start going up on their own right and they have to force the issue. And if they do, that is massively bullish crypto. You have lower rates and lower dollar. And this, I'm showing you a TA path. And this was from yesterday from Raul Paul. Okay. So, this was money supply back in 2017. The last time we had, crypto Twitter was an expert in tariffs and M2. Okay. Realizing that this is exactly the repeat of what happened. And this was the amount of money that the Fed had to put in the system in 2017. Okay. This is what they're doing. This time, I think they not only got to put M2 in the system, they got to put high-powered money in there as well. They got to put it all in there now, right? Not later, now. And they got everyone leaning bearish. The stock market's down. They have a perfect excuse. And then, boom, you just wake up one day and they're ramming money into the system because they got to get the system prepped for $9 trillion. It's like $9 trillion in issuance. It's like a marathon, right? Or it's like a long race. One of these 200-mile races. You can't just wake up and borrow $9 trillion. You can't just wake up and run 200 miles. You got to get ready for that. That's what they're doing. That's what they're going to do. But of course, everyone is bearish. It's insane. Look at this is fear. So a lot of people look at VIX. I know this really smart guy that it's almost like instead of looking at speed, the amount, how fast fear is going. This measures how fast fear is accelerating. So it's like you're going 100 miles per hour, but you're steady at 100 miles per hour. You're not accelerating. This shows how fear is accelerating. So obviously fear goes, whoop, crypto down, everything down. It's the everything crash, right? But the everything crash gets you to peak fear, right? Peak fear, stocks, peak fear, peak fear, peak fear. How about we buy risk assets? What's the best risk asset to buy? I don't know. If you ask me, it's Bitcoin and XRP. Stocks might bounce, right? Stocks are in a range, but this is max fear. This is the I don't know. This is the what? High in fear since 2024. It's peak fear. This was your last yen crisis, I think, up here. I mean, I don't know that it needs to go there, but in a normal environment, this is peak fear. Now let's go to Grok. So this was the roadmap we were discussing. March 14th, we were thinking 76. What did it get to? 79 this week. Next week, 81. That number is probably too low because it never went to 76. And, March 28th, at the end of the month, it's 91 for like the Grok-ish forecast based on GAN and whatever it is I tell it to look at, right? Those numbers seem reasonable to me, right? Everyone negative at 80 yesterday, and it makes sense you close the month at 90. Okay, so, could you be at 98 in April? Could you be at 100? Why did it go down from 100 to 90 again? Why did it go down from 100 to 80? Are you going to be able to tell me in 2 weeks? Can you tell me now? Tariffs. Oh, okay. What does that have to do with crypto? Nothing. Zero. Algos moved the market. Stocks went down. Crypto went down with it. Everyone got bearish. Right? What happens if this is the roadmap for this year? Because 2017 was a big year for crypto. Now, I don't know if it can just go up only like this. I mean, it can. And Grok thinks it can. Right? I mean, Bitcoin 2025, you can have Michael Saylor with a deck on the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and how the government's going to buy Bitcoin for the Sovereign Wealth Fund and the Treasury. You got to think about that. I mean, it's like, normally what this guy has to say is boring. He's running around with U.S. government PowerPoint now. Okay. So Grok said, this is, again, we did this a week ago, 60 to 70% chance that 80K was the new 20K, right? 80K fear now was 20K back in 2017. I'm sorry, in 2022. Everyone afraid, everyone out. So the end of March, Grok forecast, this is like new stuff. So Grok forecasts 84K Bitcoin. Seems reasonable. It's not like outlandish. $2.40 for XRP, 2K for Ethereum, 160 for Solana. That's not ridiculous, right? It's not. But, by the end of April, talking about 107 for Bitcoin, 2,600 for Ethereum, 348 for XRP. That would be the high, right? And it's back at the high, right? It's not like, oh my God, it's going to the moon. No. This is like, basically, Grok is saying that by the end of April, you would be back at the highs. We're at the lows, and now we're going to go back to the highs. And maybe crypto's in a range. Okay. Crypto's in a range. Buy 80, sell 110. Fine. I don't think that's correct, but it's not unreasonable, is it? That's where Grok gets a little wild, right? Grok, 126K Bitcoin, and Grok thinks that the altcoin that goes wild is XRP. Interesting, right? You got $4.52 XRP at the end of May. You're gonna have people on fire with that XRP ETF. Okay, so just asked him to look at some artificial intelligence tokens. I haven't done all the TA on this yet, but What about Phantom back at $2? That's Sonic now. Phantom was at $2 at the high. This was hot DeFi before we all became tariff experts. Chainlink is at 14. Chainlink could be at 21. Aave could be at 500. How are they going to do $9 trillion without some sort of decentralized finance system? I don't know. That's why I just said, hey, take a look at Chainlink, Aave, and Phantom. And with the AI tokens, I never told them to look at anything. I just said, hey, go find some AI tokens. Fetch, Render, and Tau. Basic. And probably later on, I might run analysis like say, okay, these are the tokens, find smaller tokens that are correlated. I mean, do you realize what's happened to tokens in like the 1,000, like 500 market cap, 800 market cap, even stuff like Barachain and all. I mean, that's higher market cap, but a lot of stuff's just been destroyed, right? Where's the market with XRP at $5 or $4.50 and Aave at 500? What's Aave now? 160? Okay, now let's get crazy. You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy. So Michael Saylor is going to borrow $21 billion. $21 billion. And he's going to do preferred stock against that. Okay. And let me just give it to you simple. Everybody and their brother is short MicroStrategy. They're all short. Is it this stock expensive relative to the amount of Bitcoin he holds? Yeah. Unless the Bitcoin rises in value. Or he just, adds more Bitcoin and it rises in value. This could be this could be the biggest short squeeze ever. And if GameStop, which I haven't even looked at yet, GameStop buys Bitcoin, that could also get going. If they get MicroStrategy and MicroStrategy can definitely blow out the shorts. Definitely. Because everybody in stocks, they just got blown out on their longs. And then what happens if stocks stabilize and then they get blown out on their shorts? It's called P&L destruction. When you start to have this kind of volatility, that's what happens. When everyone has the same position, they all get smoked out. And, everybody in crypto was long memes, smoked out. That's our example, right? Absolutely smoked out. Okay. Here we go. Love this. Brief commercial interruption. Now, you want to talk about something bullish? This is bullish. The primary job of government is to protect the people. And guess what? We're going back to that because the Bureau, as I like to call them, the guys with badges, who, have windbreakers like on the X-Files that say, the 3 letters. The guys who kick in doors and run down alleys, they're going to start going after crypto criminals because that's what they're supposed to do. So you have the government getting smaller, the government that's there doing what they're supposed to do, and everyone is bearish. It's crazy. And they're doing it to protect crypto. So the government is doing a complete 180 on crypto, and we're selling everything. Like altcoin's been left for dead. The Magnificent Seven is probably still worth 8 or 9 trillion. And crypto, altcoins, Web3 is, I don't know. Let's find out what Web3 is worth. What are we trading Web3 for? Okay. Let's do this. I don't know. We've never done Grok live. Okay. What is the current total market cap of the Mag 7 stocks as of 3/14? Let's see what we get. Survey says, like Family Feud. Let's see. So, 15 trillion. 15 trillion. 15 trillion for Web 2. Let's see what we got on Web 3, just to make the point. Right? Total altcoin market cap, 790 billion. And it's below its 200-day moving average, and it's below its equilibrium zone from Luxago. Fascinating, as Mr. Spark would say. Okay, total 2, which is total crypto market cap. Okay, without Bitcoin, so it includes ETH, just unwound, right? In other words, and it's really interesting, right? Remember that Gann guy who wanted to take all of this out of the chart and assume we were here? Assume this is what the total market cap chart looked like with everybody negative, right? So just take out this all the way up, all the way down thing and just assume the market was like this. The dollar's going lower. They got to borrow $9 trillion. Gold is at 3,000 and everyone's bearish. The bigger the base, the higher in the space, right? Okay. So obviously I've made myself clear. I don't understand why everyone is negative. If anything, everybody should be like giga positive, right? Because you just take the other side of everything and everyone's like, well, gee, how do I get in crypto and how do I make a lot of money? Easy. You earn it. You got to buy when it's horrible. You think I'm sleeping at night? You're crazy. I'm not sleeping at night. I get on the stream and I fade myself. I go, okay, how do I feel about this market? Oh, terrible. How's my bag doing? Ugh, awful. Okay, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to listen to Toby. I'm going to listen to the McAfee podcast. I'm just going to say, this is what happens. You have to earn your money. You have to earn it. Buying it at the low is horrible. Everyone thinks, oh, buying it at the low. No, buying it at the high is easy. That's why it's the high. Buying it at the low is hard. That's why it's the low. Okay. All right, people. That's the market update. We will see you next week.